think about in your own life where you've had your own internal judgments or just judgments on other people, and what it's like to keep those inside. So, because what we're about to dive into is, well, I'll do a little activity for us here. And actually, for those of you who don't know, my name is Sam. I am a self-mastery coach. I've been here for 2 years now, and we do these every week. We're about to dive into doing a series next week. So, sometime soon, don't know yet. But super excited to get things rolling in here. So with judgment, the thing that's interesting about this, we have what is called the judgment loop, or the judgment cycle. Okay. This starts out external. So this is how it goes. Okay. Where do you think external judgment comes from?
Yourself?
Well, in some ways. But it mostly comes from other people's expectations, and your parents, society, and the pressure of being shown and just keeping this face up in the world. This face that we have to, I guess, presume ourselves to be strong, confident, capable, and successful. And this can be a lot of pressure, and so with the way that the world has gone nowadays, it's extremely difficult to hold that up without having any judgment. And so that external judgment leads into internalization. So as we internalize the external judgment, all of a sudden this becomes what we can call a story and beliefs that we can tell ourselves. And this is really challenging because all of a sudden these are the beliefs that we're diving into and looking into the world with our own view. It turns into a new lens that we hold the world in. And because of that internalization, it becomes internal. I forgot one more actually. Because those internal judgments that we internalized and became, they now become standards for ourself. And those standards we want to uphold for ourselves as well. Based on what we've been told from the external, then we come to believe that's my image of who I should be. And then it turns into the internal of becoming the self. And then getting ridiculed on the self and making sure that all these things are going the right way from where it first came from. But then after the internalization, we then judge others. Why would you think that is? I want to open that up, see if you guys have any ideas.
Well, it's hurt people type shit.
Yeah, very similar.
Yeah, pretty much.
Comparison.
Reflection.
Right.
Reflection.
Yeah.
Projection.
Yes. All these things. Because what happens is when we internalize, we also, the ego is there. And so with the ego, it wants to make itself feel better than others. And so if we are internalizing our own judgment, and then we are going to judge others because we want to. Hi, welcome. Come on in. Let's see. Some cushions around here. Yeah, open up the space a little more.
Get around Charlie. One to each side.
What are your names?
My name is Gui.
Gui? Nice to meet you.
Omar.
Omar? Nice to meet you. Welcome. We're just diving into the judgment circle, or the cycle of judgment. This is just a quick little brief overview, and then we're going to do a little icebreaker activity right after this. So, yeah, essentially that's where judgment is, and after we internalize the judgments that we've created from those standards, from the external judgment, that was cool. The judging, the judging of others starts to become a thing because that standard, that internalization, we also think that others should have that standard for what we think from the external, and so it becomes our lens of how we see the world, and that lens is going to say, well, they're not doing that, I want to feel better about myself not doing that, so I'm going to judge others for not doing that. That kind of makes sense? So, I have a cool activity. Do we have any paper here? Maybe not. I don't see any. This is going to require some paper. If not, it's okay. I have some notebooks. I'm just going to ask you, and this is like the question I was asking in the beginning. I want you to write down one judgment that you have of someone or of yourself. It could be either of those two. And then what we're going to do is basically do a snowball fight and throw them at each other. To like enunciate, like kind of exemplify letting go. And so you can split that, both of you. Yeah, rip it in half. Use both of those. And I have some pens as well. You have, yeah, you guys can split that. Do you want to use your own notebook? Yeah? We're going to tear it out and throw it.
Okay.
You're cool with that?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. George, you're so smart.
God, I really needed the validation. You don't need to share it.
Oh, you got all pens. You're wonderful.
It'd be weird to get a couple. Just hand them to who I like most.
Okay, so you understand the action thing here? So again, I'll kind of say it again. We're going to create a judgment, just to think about in your life, a judgment that you have on yourself, or a judgment as soon as you walked in the room, or on your way here, or yesterday, of others. Could be either of these two. Just
A
think.
specific situation or a general thing?
General thing.
What about doing both?
You can, if you want. If you want to release it, sure, go ahead. Because the thing is, once we write it down, it doesn't become so stuck in the head anymore. It doesn't give us that power, or it doesn't create that strength that it once had. By letting it be able to just, by seeing it and seeing like, oh, well, it's not even, because also, all these judgments are in the past, typically, or they're in the present, but we don't recognize them.
Can you give us an example?
Yeah.
Okay. You can say, I don't like your hat as a judgment, right? Or I don't like the way this carpet looks. I don't like
Something small, something.
It could be small, or it could be bigger. It's like, I have a judgment based on, I think my mom is dumb or something. I don't, like, this could be a bigger thing that's like, you don't recognize, but if you think about it, maybe it'll come to your thoughts, your consciousness. Maybe it's sometimes you maybe have judgments during improv of others and what they say.
I can just think of very offensive things.
Yeah. And then what I'm going to do is I want to like look at these and get an idea of and see similar patterns that are going on with these statements. Yeah, you don't need to fold it, just crumple up like a snowball. After you got it. Need more examples, George?
No, I don't. I'm reluctant. I'm reluctant to have it out.
Yeah.
Let the demons out.
This is what I was talking
I
about,
think
right?
this is gonna offend somebody.
Good.
Sure.
That's okay. That's just like, we're letting things go. We're not taking anything personal here. This is very open and being an interesting concept to look at what judgment is from an outside perspective, not taking anything personally. And so by understanding what judgment is, we get to more thorough understanding to manage it and deal with it. Well, the snowballs are small.
It's not about the size of the snowball, it's how you use it.
They're like bullets.
Yeah, like bullets. It's very interesting as we can see how judgment shows up, especially when we write it down. One thing that I was doing yesterday, right after I wrote this up, I went to the beach and I just didn't do anything. I was just being very human, not getting on my phone, just letting my thoughts run wild. And I see this guy over near the beach. He is basically just having a surfboard on him, but not going surfing. He's just standing there with his phone and just like videotaping himself or recording himself. And I was my thoughts were running wild of like, what is this guy doing? Is he like, he's not even wet. And then I see him go and put his head in the water and then like fix his hair and all this and then comes back to like doing the photo. And then my thoughts start to run wild. You know, of course, when you think about this, it's like, well, what is this guy doing? Why does he care about like what his image looks like or whatever? Like, and so my thoughts, of course, came up, but also that is a projection of my own judgments as well, from what I thought of and the experiences I hear from other people. Oh, I don't want to post all this stuff my entire life online. Oh, I don't want to have to look and be someone that I'm not, type of thing. Yeah. So, George, okay, you're still going. You got it? Alright. Cool. So crumple them up. You already got them crumpled. And in 3, 2, 1. Snowball fight!
What are you doing?
Thank you.
Okay.
I need
Oh,
this one.
shit.
Was supposed
Far.
to keep throwing?
That's
You got mine. Back at you.
Missed two.
Oh,
Yeah,
They're quite small.
Oh, Charlie!
Keep throwing?
I went for the head there.
Now this is fine.
Is mine still there?
Here.
No, I got it. Yeah, I gave it to my bud here.
Okay.
Alright, well, we're still throwing
I'm
then.
about to throw bananas at you.
All right, now pick one up.
Alright, got one.
Hello, Julie.
Oh, sorry I'm so late.
It's okay.
We're just throwing shit at each
Did
other.
you have one?
No, throw it at me.
Can I sit next to you, Mr. Gordon? Thank you, sir.
Better not be mine.
It'd be crazy if this is mine, actually.
Yeah.
After everything.
Do you have one, Charlie? You got one? You got one? Do you have one?
It's not mine.
Everyone have one?
I need one.
Do you need one?
I need one.
I don't have one. We did. We basically wrote judgments down and then threw them.
I like it.
Why are you looking at me?
Because you're looking at me.
Could be anyone.
George, I'm glad you got up. This is mine.
Who wants to share theirs?
There's something wrong with me.
That's it.
That's a self-judgment.
Wow.
Pretty new.
Anything else?
I like
Something
this
wrong
one.
with all of us.
I judge myself for not doing enough to move forward.
I totally resonate with that one.
Oh no.
It's good.
Did you even shower, wash your hands?
That's a good one. Brushing your teeth, you know. Yeah, that's a good one. That kind of shows up.
That's a good one too, because our Vietnamese and someone write the Vietnamese cough too loud.
Wait till you hear them sneeze.
Sneeze, yeah. That's funny. You got one, Kane?
Yeah, I think Christians follow their religion out of fear.
Oh. Wow, that's deep. I think also Islam does as well. I'm reading the Quran right now, and so it's very interesting with what they talk about with the believers and the disbelievers. But anyways, we don't need to talk about that. You have any want to share? Oh, it's yours.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Oh, we can switch.
Did you read it already?
Well, yeah, but it's fine.
Who wants to switch? Oh wait,
They're
it
not
doesn't.
red.
It doesn't even matter because we already.
I mean, you can read your own.
if you want.
I mean, I don't care.
Okay.
Says, I think I'm too dark to be pretty.
Mm.
Yeah.
Mm.
Can I say the one I would have written?
Yeah.
Don't judge me because of my age.
Oh. Well, okay, I like it. Yeah.
Because it can go either way, too young or too old.
Uh-huh.
So you and I could share that one on opposite ends of the spectrum.
Mhm. Anyone else?
Yeah, go on.
Not go.
Okay. I think you are not capable of communicating.
Like to themselves, it's just you.
I don't know, it might be you are not, or kind of in passive tense, I am.
If others don't understand me, it's because they are not as smart as me. I like this one. Controversial.
That is controversial.
Couple layers there.
You got it, Charlie?
This one says, I judge myself for keeping the same bad addictions. So I've got double judgment in there. And there's also, I judge others when they go with the general crowd like sheep in fashion, music, etc.
Is there any more? I don't think there is any more. So interesting, isn't it, to just see these mix of judgments? And what did we see? Is there a common theme here?
Lots of self-judgment, more than outward.
Yeah. One thing, did I notice any shoulds? Was there any shoulds in there? I don't think there was actually.
What's a show?
Saying just the word should.
You should do
Oh,
this.
should.
I don't think I heard any of those, which is good. But yeah, a lot of I's in there as well, which is very common, I think, for how we judge the self. Can be really tough how that can play into a role. The whole thing of where I think judgment stems from is attachment. And what I mean by attachment is the attachment to the image of the self and the way that we think the world should be, based on not from our own beliefs, but because of the beliefs that we were projected onto from our parents, our peers, our teachers, influencers and celebrities, things of the sort. And then that's where external judgment comes from. I mean, we're social beings, right? And so a lot of the things happen in this world comes from external validation. Being able to be validated and superior gives you more experience, money, benefit in some certain scenarios. It's some of the ways could be make it till you, or fake it till you make it, where you have to put up an image all the time. But this is a interesting world because we have a complex dynamic. We have inter and intra. So, you guys familiar with these words? Inter and intra. So, inter and intra. I heard, come on in. Hello. No problem. What's your name?
My name is Joe,
Don't.
and the other day.
Sam. I think you were here last week, right?
No, that's my first one.
Oh, okay. Face up very familiar. So, one philosophy. I was reading a book by. Does anyone know familiar with Alfred Adler's philosophy? Have anyone heard of this philosopher? So similar to Carl Jung and the others, but he was actually disregarded because of his really intense beliefs. And with what he said, inside of his philosophy was that all problems come from interpersonal relationship problems. So imagine you were in the world completely alone, and you just had the entire world to yourself, but there was never even an existence of other people. It was just you. There technically wouldn't be any problems, unless you have an idea. Does anyone have a different perspective to that? I'd love to hear.
In activity, a lot of people had problems with themselves.
Problems with themselves.
Yeah, a lot of people had problems with themselves in activity we did.
Right, but that comes from external first, right? It comes from the external. That's how this cycle comes in. You know what I mean?
I'd say the word problem, I would say there wouldn't be conflicts. Because conflicts usually are, also the internal conflicts are in actuality conflicts with someone else.
Yeah.
That replay inside yourself. So if there was no one else, you wouldn't be having conflicts, probably.
Yeah.
But you could have a problem still.
Right.
Like illness or loneliness or.
True.
Yeah.
Yeah, or like the weather. That too, yeah. That's a good way to put it instead of problems being conflict. I like that. Yeah, because it's so interesting how judgment even begins. It's literally just social norms, like cultural backgrounds, and these insecurities that we are given from, again, these labels of parents, teachers, right? All these figures. I'm just gonna write figures instead, and I'm gonna refer to them as figures from now on. That's not how you spell figures.
It could be how you spell figure.
Could be your truths.
Yeah, could be my truth. Sure. So one judgment that I'm curious if this is a thing that's gone on in your world. From the external world, right? It first came from like my mom and parents and also the peers around me, was sneezing. Sneezing loudly. Or even just sneezing and having anything come out. I see some people, and I used to do this myself, I would, when you were about to sneeze, go. Why do people do that?
To not see them leave or gross.
True.
That's about the complete opposite to the Vietnamese.
It's true. I saw this happen yesterday and I was like, wow, that is such a great judgment. And I used to do this in myself because I didn't want to, I have a really loud sneeze and I'm totally okay with it, but the beginning of that was because I didn't want to be disruptive, right? I don't want to seem like I'm loud or I need attention, you focus on me or even do anything, but these are what? These are judgments. It's so interesting, just with something as a sneeze, something that's a bodily function. Same with farts. It's so interesting how human function can all of a sudden become a judgment. But why does that even become a judgment in the first place?
Because it stinks. That's a big reason.
Okay.
Sneezes don't stink. I mean, that you can make a point.
People stink in general.
Not always.
Depends on where you are in the world.
If they showered, yeah, what they ate. Yeah. But that's also the idea of the stink. That is what we talked about last week. Similar to, it was perception of what we like and dislike, and how that comes in from the senses. And so when that sense shows up of a like and dislike, we don't even know what we should like or dislike up until the age of 7, when all of the understanding of the world starts to become more under perspective through, again, the figures. But that could be, I was a person, and up until I was 14, 15, I was the kid that would be farting all the time. And it would be for the attention of others. And I would be like, oh, that was so good. And I didn't have any judgment until I was in class and people totally had the opposite reaction. And so I started to look at their judgment on my things that I'm doing, tell me that it's wrong. And now I internalize that. And it became a self-judgment any single time I'm with a woman, I'm in a peer-to-peer interaction. You see how that works? And then, once others fart, oh, you shouldn't do that.
What?
You shouldn't do that.
You do that? Mr. Farty Boy?
It's this cycle, like that, how I'm talking about here. So, external judgment, I think we can move past that for now. There's Well, actually, I have a really interesting question in here. How does the judgment you received impact the way that you judge others? Anyone would like to share? Yeah.
I'll go back to the age thing. That I don't just write off somebody because they're really young. Like in your case, right?
Yeah.
And I'd be like, whatever, you're like this 22-year-old kid, what can you know? And that's really dismissive because there's plenty of people, I mean, I'm 63, and like there's plenty of people my age who don't know anything, okay? They could have PhDs and they're just like clueless. So you can't discount somebody because of their age. Like I have a really hard time getting hired. Like language schools won't hire me, which is super, yeah. Here, now, I lived in the Czech Republic for a long time, I lived in Russia. Russia, it was like, it got me a better job, my experience. I got better money, I got a better job because of my experience. And here, it's just, you know, oh, well, you're not young and pretty, so you can't possibly teach the kids. I'm like, okay. I ran into the same thing in Taiwan, so I'm like, okay. That's part of the reason why I'm here, because at least here, it's cheap to live and work remotely. Taiwan's a little expensive.
So how did that become?
Well, so I got judged because of my age.
Yeah.
So then it's like, well, I can't be a hypocrite and turn around and judge someone else because of their age.
Uh-huh.
On the other end of the spectrum, somebody young,
Sure.
you know. And I do it sometimes because I sort of lump like the 30-somethings into this big group. Particularly in the U.S., that's a generation that my generation completely messed up. So I apologize. And it's hard to get around that.
I think the question was about how the judgment of others make you judge others.
Wait, but I don't. That's what I'm saying is I try not to.
That's
because
where
That's what I'm saying is I try not to judge because I've been judged, especially on age.
This is what we're going to get into later on, is what she talks about here is she put something, what we call curiosity, in the middle of this cycle. Once you insert curiosity in here, it can block off the entire internal and external judgment from others again. You will always be judged. Always. Because you can't please everyone. And there's going to be people that you like, and there's going to be, or that people like you, and there's also going to be people that don't like you. Just because of the way you look. Literally.
Similar to what she said in the Torah and the Jewish Bible,
Mhm.
the Ten Commandments. One of the commandments is don't do to your friends what you hate about, like to do for yourself, like that.
Right, it's the do unto others.
It's do unto others.
Yeah, absolutely. Treat people the way you
want to
all the
treat
different
them.
religions.
Exactly.
Yeah, all the
So
different
if you get
religions.
judged, maybe you feel like you don't like that, and then you won't do it to others.
Right.
But of course, there's the other side of the spectrum where people actually intentionally do it to others because that's maybe what they've learned. Maybe like, you know, parents, like a father that didn't have a father, maybe now he's gonna be bad to his children, or there's the opposite spectrum of it where he's like, I'm not gonna be like my father.
Yeah.
You know, I'm gonna do the best to be the best dad in the world.
Mhm.
But you see that, like, I mean, it's both sides.
And the tough thing is as soon as the external judgment comes in, what I forgot to mention about the internalization is that it goes deep into the subconscious. And those happen because of the belief, and then that belief shows up as a feeling, right? The thoughts lead to feelings, and feelings lead to actions. And so the internalization shows up as a feeling. And the subconscious, you are talking to the subconscious through feelings. And so those feelings that were once created from that external situation, and then that became internalized because of the feeling that showed up and became a belief. So it's like what you, I'm so excited to dive into this later because we're about to do something that I have here, like later on. I have these cards, and it's basically going to be like where we take these cards and we're going to change them. They're just like basic kind of judgments that people would have on others and themselves, and then we turn them into a curiosity thing. How can we be curious about these kind of judgments? And we'll kind of work together on that. Because what you did is you said, well, I mean, you got curious about how other people, oh, we'll talk about this later actually. I'm already getting into it. So, one thing about shoulds that are external judgment, before we finish off on external judgment, is what I was talking about earlier is shoulds. So,
Can I ask a question?
Go ahead.
I was trying to dig deep to find some sort of judgments against myself that I then turned into judgments against others. And I didn't find any, which I completely do have them, but that just points out the subconscious nature of this thing. But I wanted to ask the group that, did you try and did you find, or didn't you just tell? Or is it the same thing? It's kind of difficult to pinpoint.
I have found myself the same way. I definitely have them, but I couldn't come
Yeah,
up with
couldn't
any.
kind of put your finger on it.
That's right.
Yeah,
I think it takes a bit of time of kind of observing.
that's true.
of,
Like meditation and kind of just letting them maybe come or something.
Well, like, you know, maybe this morning I was kind of grumpy and I looked at someone on the street and I was like, oh, you know. But then later I saw the same person and I didn't feel that way.
Yeah, that's true, but it, I meant like the judgment you have got and then turned into judgment against others. Kind of, they are built into the psyche somehow, but
Yeah.
I was trying to kind of put my spotlight on my own stuff and didn't find it.
Well, I would suggest that being grumpy is actually a judgment about myself, my experience.
that's true, yeah. Or it triggers because I don't accept something or
Yeah, wake
I
up
don't
and
like
look-
something.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely hard to notice because it's inside of the subconscious. It shows up the external and then the internalization, and then all of a sudden it's on the self, right? But where the bridge between the receiving and then giving again is in here, right? And so once we internalize it, it's very challenging to then view that because then it will show up automatically in certain ways. And that automaticness can sometimes inhibit you to even work, to even go up and talk to someone that you may like, or maybe say something that you really should say to someone that needs to identify some boundaries, but you're judging yourself from thinking, oh, they're not gonna like me, or something, anything that could go down many different rabbit holes.
So it's kind of karma, that cycle, isn't it?
Yeah.
Is it creating a negative spiral?
Yeah. Yeah. It's very, I've experienced it many times in my life, and once I dove into this and like realized this, I was like, wow, it's like such an opening in my life because this is so powerful to recognize when we get judgments from others, and that typically I was going to tie that in with it happens from shoulds. So when I talk about should, this is a word that is inside of statements, or I think they're pretty much all statements, that basically say how we must do things. That is in alignment with the way that other people have done. So this all of a sudden becomes, hey, you should not raise your voice, you should not drink alcohol, you should not do drugs, you should do this type of thing for your content. You should put captions and you should put B-rolls. All these things happen. And then it leads out of authenticity. Because how can you judge yourself on authenticity? How can you, and not, maybe judge isn't the right word, how can you grade yourself on authenticity? What are your measurements or metrics? Yeah?
Great question.
I think for me, it's just doesn't feel right. Do I feel like I'm being me, or do I feel like I'm putting on a face or a certain action? And I mean, any of you who've interacted with me online know I'm pretty. What you see is what you get. You know? I have a bad poker face, so I'm bad at lying. I was married to a pathological liar, so I'm very allergic to lies. So for me, it's always kind of that gut feeling, like if I'm talking to somebody and like I say something like, "Ew, who was that? Who said that?" Like it didn't feel natural. So for me, it's like very internal.
I would say if you create something as if you couldn't get rejected, then you're creating from authentic place, I think.
You're saying you create something as if where you can't get rejected. It's like you're creating a
Yeah,
belief.
basically because like how I think, but the thought is not from me, it's actually from Gabor Mate, but the thing that we learn to abandon our authenticity as young children because we need to trade it off for safety. We learn to go by the rules of parents and everyone else because we don't want to get judged and abandoned.
Yeah.
So we lose that. We early on learn to trade off authenticity for safety. So I would just say that maybe when you're creating or whatever, if you create from a place that you can't get judged or can't get rejected, then
That's
it's
big.
authentic.
Yeah. That's really big, and that it ties into validation as well. That's where that's getting that the validation from others to where do I need to be validated, but then where can I be just my authentic self? And validated also, when we put any sort of validation, it's the shoulds get thrown into there. But then it's so challenging to deal with shoulds because all the time I find myself looking at when I'm even just journaling or some sort of these things, I can look at the way that my life has gone and I'm saying, well, all of a sudden I see the words on here, it's like should. And I'm like, okay, well, why am I asking myself, or why am I telling myself I should do this? Where does this should even come from? And most of the time it's from those figures. It's from those people who have made it, because I also I'm hugely focused in on business. And when I look at business, everyone tells you these marketing things and the ways that you should do everything correctly, and the way that you should have your whole advertisements and your placements, all these things that you could talk about inside of business. And yes, there is some aspect to this that is important for sure.
Yeah.
Because there is some sort of there is trueness, there's truth to this. But how do you distinguish it from just taking on all these different things that people tell you and still making your authentic self inside of that? It's a very,
But like in a business example, there's like a delay between if that's the most efficient strategy now, and then when it becomes well known and taught to others, and then by that time, there's already a more efficient strategy that needs to be done.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like outdated. All of the judgments are really outdated by the time they get to you.
That's good.
But don't you aren't you kind of hiring a coach or watching marketing content to see what you should do? Like, do you think the word should is sometimes like what we should do? You know, obviously if it's we're beating ourselves up and judging in a different way. It's hard for me with judgment because I know I judge myself. I know I judge others. I'm not a Buddhist monk. I don't claim to have relinquished judgment from my life, and I don't think it's very possible. But obviously there's a difference between just being an asshole and just judging, for no reason and because it's my own shit. So I think there is a time when, I don't know.
Yeah, I can't give you I don't think anyone here could, we can't give you the exact equation.
Yeah.
You know, what it's like to interpret all the things that from your mentors and the people that you trust, and you appreciate their opinion and you appreciate their success and what they have done with their life. They have certain characteristics and aspects to themselves that are successful in your eyes or you respect. And so that's where you can interpret those as however you see fit. It's like the example that a lot of people have shown me is if you were given advice, do you see their life also being exactly where you would like to be? Right? And so that is like, okay, are you going to take that example of who they are in that specific aspect that they're talking that advice to you, they're giving that advice to you? Say it's on relationships, right? Are they giving you good advice on relationships because they've been in good relationships before and they're in a super strong marriage or super strong relationship? That's where you also kind of take that characteristic of applying it into your life. It can go both ways, but this is something that I'm bringing to your perspective so you can start to think about and still should do things the right way, but play a role in how it can imply with you don't getting too involved in the shoulds.
You're right. Can I point out one thing?
Yeah.
I think I would, because words are so powerful, I would, if we switch a couple of words, switch judgment to discernment and should into good.
Or get to. I get to do this rather than I should or have to.
Yeah. Basically,
Or try.
then it's kind of discernment is kind of just kind of taking a good look and see, okay, that made it the best way I could do this. So then the judgment is removed. It's just discernment.
What did you say for the word?
Discernment.
That was for judgment.
And then could.
Could, yep.
Yeah, should be could.
And I don't
Judgment.
look, like, for me, myself, I don't look at should as a bad word, generally. You know, when I'm paying someone to tell me what I should do, or someone's telling me,
It's
listen,
context.
listen,
Yeah,
bro,
yeah.
you're overweight, you really should lose some weight.
I could pay for your massage.
So I think it's the power we put behind words. Like, we were talking about the other class where I had that friend that every single word I said was, nope, can't say that, yo, that's the shit. Nope, can't say shit. Yo, hello, no, hello, you know. So I think it's some words, are different for different people. So I don't necessarily, I know should, when it becomes like on like what we're talking about level, but then I think other things that it's, for my health, for my business, what's going to make me better, and yeah. But obviously there's judgment and shame that comes with a lot of stuff. Getting told should, I've had that before too.
It's just taking a breath in that internal state, right? Someone says you should do this. Cool. Think, is that right for me?
Yeah, blocking it. This is where we oh my gosh, I'm not good at spelling today. Curiosity.
Yeah, they're totally on levels with the should. Yeah, I should take the trash now. Like it's something, or I should pay this, or I should actually wake up earlier. I think that's fine. But then there's a line when it starts to become something else.
And I think like I should have in the past is obviously something that should never, because you can't change the past. There's nothing we can do. So I think when it comes to beating myself up because I didn't exercise yesterday, it's fucking pointless. But but the things moving forward, no, I get it.
Yeah, exactly. And this is where curiosity comes in as well. Once we have the internalization, we begin having the shoulds, where we get curious about those shoulds as well. And understand, okay, where am I needing to actually apply the things that I respect the opinion of others? And where am I just shoulding myself?
You're shitting everywhere.
You're shitting everywhere.
Shitting. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Shitting.
Yeah, this is an interesting concept because we're blending in a little bit of external now into internal. Should is kind of in the middle of that sabotage, where it becomes from the external, and then all of a sudden you receive that judgment, you receive that feedback from others, but then you realize that should all of a sudden is something that you're maybe a novice about, and so that becomes an internalization to needing to always do something within yourself that you have heard from others, to become then judging on yourself to give shoulds to yourself. So, yeah, it's the inner voice. That's really where all this stuff comes from. That inner critic. Let's do this little activity here. Right before we get into the curiosity stage. So, this is called Judgment Marketplace. I created this.
Did you make it?
Yes, I did. So,
Actually, I've not said that. Look
I have about 20 cards here. I was trying to find flashcards, and it was kind of hard to find them here in Vietnam. And they have this little, what is this?
Have you been to Fahasa, the bookstore? It's in the building where Lotte Mart is.
No.
Sometimes Fahasa has good like school supplies, stuff like that.
Yeah, this is where I went to.
There's a good stationery store. I'll give you the name. I went for
I have a
Joy
stationery.
Race Board. Yes, they didn't have it.
Yeah, they had. This is where I bought them.
Oh.
It's a big stationery store. They have like all these Vietnamese books and stuff like that. So I'm gonna go around and you guys are gonna take a card. Any card. Pick a card. Any card. Okay.
With the Queen of Hearts.
Let's go. Always the middle, huh?
No.
Should you do this?
Okay, there you go. Should I?
Oh,
I do wrong? Why are you punishing me, Sam?
Should I not punish you?
Nah, I deserve it.
That was the right one.
Okay. Everyone got one?
Mm-hmm.
Can we go around the room and share them? Who wants to start?
Why can't I be like them?
I should have figured this out by now.
I should be further along in life.
I can't believe they did that.
Say again, sir?
I can't believe they did that.
You should have done it my way.
True.
He or she is so fake.
They are so lazy.
She talks too much. She talks too much.
Third person.
They're being so negative.
I'll add to one too. They only care about themselves.
They're making so many excuses.
I'm too introverted.
Yeah. Are you?
Really?
Maybe these resonated with you, maybe they don't. Maybe I'm hoping that the point of this is to look at these in a different light. When we look at these judgments, we need to turn them into something that is different. We can create curiosity with them. So I want to just take a few here. Or for a moment, why don't you guys just go ahead and try to, with your own self, reframe it. Maybe you can come up with a statement. You can come up with something that's like a question with the judgment that you just got. And look at it in a different perspective. How can you change this around and put curiosity in the equation? Just take like a few minutes just to yourself.
It's really strong. Really strong.
I really like these.
That's probably so
Does anyone have one?
I'm ready.
I got one. So mine says you should have done it my way. And my question would be, do you think if you've done it my way, would it be more beneficial to you than your way? And if not, I want to know why. Or something like that.
Right. Super helpful to do in like team scenarios, right?
Yeah. It is. It changes everything.
Yeah.
It makes a person less, I don't know, pushed away from doing it, right? Like, because you should have done it my way, or you should do it my way. It's like, well, you know what? Now I'm not going to do it your way because of my ego.
Yeah.
But if we talk about the benefits, about how this helps, maybe 10 minutes of just saying, oh, you know, all these affirmations about it, you're like, okay, maybe this is a great idea actually, let's do it your way. Or maybe a mix.
So I should have figured this out by now, and I would reframe it to something like, I've really enjoyed the adventure and the flexibility that's got me to this point.
You said you had it, George?
Kind of. So mine was I'm too introverted. I would reframe it with something related to like my own environment. Like, am I introverted because of the people surrounding me? Like, should I put myself in a different environment that allows myself to be more extroverted, if that's what I'm looking for?
That's literally the definition of introverted and extroverted, right there, what you said, because introverts are only introverts because of their environment. If you're around the wrong people, you're definitely going to be introverted. If you're around the right people, you become an extrovert. Amazing, I love that.
So does that mean that being introvert is not good then?
I would say so. Because this is my opinion, I don't believe in introverts and extroverts. It's really just a whole thing of who you're around. And introverts can become an extrovert as soon as they're around the right people. And the people that they think that care about them, and the people that like them and trust them and really just want the best for them.
So maybe there's only extroverts. If you said introverts can turn into extroverts, then there is an extrovert. And then maybe there's just a level of how extroverted you are.
I think it's ambivert.
Ambivert.
This is a mix of both.
Okay.
And because there's another aspect to this where introverts and extroverts become through where you get your energy. Alone or with other people. And so you were a mix of both as well. But I think the context of being more in front of people and talking to people all the time is not the right concept, because we're social beings. Like, yeah, anyways, we don't have to talk about that. It's a great topic for another day, though.
But a lot of people don't know how to be alone.
Yeah.
I had so many friends freak out during the pandemic.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm so happy I don't have to talk to anyone.
You got a reframe?
I had two separate thoughts. So my main one was, why can't I be like them? And then the first one I wrote down when we wrote it down was, am I gifted, or am I special, or am I an innovator? Like, is there something special about me? That's why I'm different.
Yeah.
And then when everyone shared, I wrote, do I have something I can learn from others?
Ooh. There we go. Beautiful. Any others? Yeah.
Since I got the she talks too much, which I'm told all the time, I actually had someone else reframe this for me. If you guys know Andre and his creators group.
Yeah.
That's not fair.
Wait, I know, but, you know, take it where you can get it, right? So last week it was just me and him and another guy, and I kind of course, ended up talking a lot. And he's like, like with just a small group, it's fine. He goes, because you have so many experiences, and we can learn so much from you. So it's kind of like, she talks too much, but it might be, well, maybe she's got something interesting to say. And like going through the phases of women, I am now the wise woman, right? I am the crone that gives information, right? We go through those phases. So I have to learn to be more like, what do you want to know from me? Or what can I teach you, rather than just like, well, I'm going to just blah, 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 barf all this information out. Which online is fine, because then you can read it or not. But in person, it's like, I know it can be really annoying. So that would be mine. Or like, what can I teach you? What do you want to know? Rather than
I love it. That's a really good one, with seeing how you can just learn from someone else's experiences and what can I actually learn from her. I also wrote down for this one specifically, what does she need to express or what does she need to express for, or maybe need to feel seen for?
Stuff. The big part that's being seen.
They're being so negative. I wonder why they're, I won't say feeling down today, because I don't know how they're feeling, but something like that. I wonder what's got them down today.
Yeah. Like what unmet needs might be driving her negativity is the one that I put, and this is similar to yours.
I think mine's similar to the other ones, but I just wanted to say something about all these things seem to be based on a kind of, there's the should, but it seems to me that the thing that comes before the should is the is. There is a judgment about the nature of the way that reality is right now, coming from the person who is judging. For example, with this one, which was, can you remember what that was?
Being so negative.
Being so negative, right? So someone has there's already a judgment, pre-judgment, right? Which is like, oh, I'm looking out at the world and I see grey skies, people with grumpy faces, or I just have this feeling in my body that's just really uncomfortable. And then from there comes the, oh, that sucks, this sucks, whatever, right? Almost as if there's an is, and then a should kind of springs out of it.
Like what reality is right now.
Yeah, there's a perception, a wrong view of the world.
Right.
And then the should is like kind of spilling out of that.
Because what we were talking about earlier, I think I'm following what you're saying with the perceptions, right? Through the senses and through the like and dislike, right? So we see the gray skies subconsciously already seeing like we don't like the gray skies. This can create a feeling, and that feeling then is, oh, I shouldn't be feeling like this. Is that what you're saying?
It could be, yeah, it could be as simple as the sky being grey. I find a lot of the time it's like legacy stuff from my parents, my ancestors, stuff like that. Maybe my dad just never thought it was good enough or something like that, and someone says something or I do something and suddenly a switch triggers and my worldview changes then, and now I'm in negative land, right? And then before you know it, somehow it switches again and positive land, or neutral land, all the different lands.
I love that. Thank you for sharing that. What other ones do we have? Yeah?
So, they are making so many excuses.
Okay.
Why are they not getting to the things they need to do? Or what are your reasons for not executing whatever,
Mm-hmm.
It's like taking it into a different perspective and possibly questioning it.
Mm-hmm.
Because at this point it's just like judgment, it's just judging that they're lazy or they don't care about you. But in reality, maybe they just are not emotionally available or too busy.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I have exactly like what is like holding them back?
Yeah. What's making them resist? I changed. I used to like identify with being lazy for a while, and I changed it to the word resisting. So it changed to the way I saw things as like, if I resist, do I really like doing this, or is it because I'm distracted with my phone or something all day? When something's harder, it tends to be more difficult to execute.
When I did an alchemizing session the other day, and with just what you're talking about with this resistance, when I was back in, like, I would say 9th grade, when I first started getting into high school basketball, I was someone that would care a lot about my basketball, and I would be the person that would get to the courts the first time, and I would always be the person putting down and getting everything set up. Like, there are hoops, and you had to, like, trigger this mechanism, get them all down. I was always benched. And so I was always assuming that people were special, and people were better than I was, and yeah, they did have some better skills than me, but I was putting all this energy into it. And so this showed up for me when I was just doing my work. And so this came up because of the judgments that I have on myself through what success others have gotten already. And so the resistance may not just be something from what you're talking about with just having this resistance of feeling, and like maybe you need to just, you're not focused. It can come from deep-rooted beliefs about the self, like this one I just had with my experience in being a player on the basketball team, something I really, really cared about. All my life I was caring about basketball. And when I care about my business and the focus is now, these beliefs they basically transferred into who my action of who my person is today. And so that's something that can be really hard to understand as well, where those beliefs show up. It's really, really challenging to get inside of those beliefs to understand where those judgments are even coming from. Yeah, I like this. This one's really good.
Yeah, it was, dang, it hit hard.
I think there is you three or more.
You heard something?
Yeah. Mine is he or she is so fake. And maybe I can rephrase that. What makes he or she act a certain way that possibly not align with their authenticity?
Wow, amazing.
And another one is this like fakeness just a part of him or her? Or are there other sides that I haven't seen?
Wow. The one that I put down for this was, what are they afraid of showing? What are they afraid of revealing? Which is like being fake. This is something that goes on in high schools, universities, and in America nowadays. There is this idea of, oh, this person's so fake. And then you have your friendship circle and, oh, this person, they're just being so fake. It's like a toxic relationships type of situation. It's so common. And so to reframe this into just, what are they just afraid of showing and revealing and being honest? It's very challenging, especially with people that may be toxic and fake, because this is, again, it has to do with people that can be sort of negative in some ways, because negativity and fakeness can show up and feel as negative. And so to change that is, wow, it's giving curiosity, right?
What about am I doing everything I can do to make them feel comfortable? Like, is it me pushing them to be fake? Is that a possibility?
I'm not sure I'm understanding what you're talking about. Can you say it in a different way?
Is that you're perceiving somebody as fake, right?
Yeah.
Like the question that you could ask is like, am I doing everything in my power to make them feel comfortable so that they can be themselves?
Right.
Like look inward.
Yeah, true.
Are they being fake because of something I'm doing?
Yeah.
But also, is that an internal judgment? Does that create?
Okay. Potentially.
I think he said something like, I might create a comfortable environment for them to be who they are.
Yeah.
Like, that's not just self-judgment.
Yeah.
Like, I'm creating and make them feel comfortable and make them feel safe.
Yeah.
But I also think it links to earlier you saying about Mate, about maybe they're being fake or they're pretentious because they don't feel safe to be who they truly are. So they have to act like this so they feel safe.
Basically, to be fake or to be negative, actually, they are the easy way out to shield yourself. It's kind of make a protective barrier. It's easy to be negative. It takes effort to be positive. And the same with fake. If you are not safe, then you will put some sort of shield. Cannot hurt me. So yeah, it's kind of, I get what you're saying.
Mm-hmm. I agree with these both statements. The reason I asked you that question was because of the wording inside of that as well. So these judgments can also show up because of the wording, like we were talking about a little bit earlier, with how the actual language of what we're using can be kind of insinuating that judgment on the self, or more of just a curiosity statement to the way of like, am I just opening up the space? Like, opening up a space of just comfort is not necessarily a judgment, right? But the way of talking about it in the aspect of, I forgot what you said.
Am I doing everything I can?
Right. Am I doing everything I can? And so that just kind of the way that that first statement for me says, I'm not doing something right already.
I guess it depends how you see it, right?
Yeah, that too as well, for sure. The way it's because the lens, right?
Yeah.
The first thing I was talking about, the lens of how we see the world, and we all have different lens, different colored glasses. Yeah.
Plus, like, we make all these little micro judgments just to survive, right? Do I cross the street here? Do I cross the street there? Do I sit at that table by myself, or do I sit over with those people? They look pretty nice. Or, oh, that guy looks really creepy. I'm not going to sit over there. And maybe he's not creepy. Maybe he is. I don't know. But we make all these little tiny judgments that I think sometimes these bigger ones kind of just slide in really easily. We don't notice them. That's what I thought about that as everyone was talking about. Some of these judgments kind of just slip in. We don't even see them because we're constantly, everything we do. Do I take my umbrella? Do I take a raincoat?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I don't want my raincoats really hot. I don't want to have that all day, so I'm going to take an umbrella. Whatever.
Yeah, the micro
These
decisions.
little decisions we make all the time.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, as a kid, we learn them for safety, like you were talking about, making things out of safety. Oh, I have to cross the street with the group because that's safe. If I cross the street by myself, I'm going to get hit by a car.
Yeah, there's an implication, isn't there, to the judgment, and it even comes back to like animals. Like, you know, if you get the food, it's good. If you don't get the food, well, it's really bad. You're gonna die.
Right.
So then when we're more intelligent, we start to build this apparatus off this kind of very fundamental level of judgment, and then it gets imbued with, oh, this is a positive payoff, this is a negative payoff, and then the emotional body reacts in kind to that.
Strokes.
I like how deep that is. Even just with little micro decisions, it's. Okay, there's a few more here.
I should be further along in life. I shouldn't. I would actually completely reframe it. I choose to pick my battles. And against the backdrop of my own life, this is why I'm traveling, is because I came to certain points in my life there I had built stuff, and I could have just go on with other type of stuff, more spiritual, more meaningful, but still in the end the same kind of search for others recognizing me for how cool I am. And I decided to let it all go and just drop into nothingness, basically, to make sure that the next time I'm going to show up for service is that I'm doing it from the right place. So basically it kind of speaks to me, because if I should have been further along in life, I would be doing something right now that would get outside recognition, would get me money, would get me everything, and inside I would be thinking, but why am I doing this? So, yeah, I choose to pick my battle.
Yeah, picking your battles, like choosing your hard. Where are you gonna sacrifice? Yeah, that's more commendable to go towards the hard and have less in the beginning than it is to go towards the easy and have more and then not be satisfied with that.
I can't believe they did that. So I will rephrase like why did they do that? Must be reasons why they did that. And then I come back to myself and ask like, what's my expectations? Why I want things to be like that? And I try to put myself in their shoes to see like a right why he be negative, maybe something. So I come back and try to ask about how you doing, what happened to you. Yeah, must be reason.
Wow. I love all these reframes, and it seems like it was quite easy for all of you. Was it challenging? Was it hard? What was your thoughts about that? About just like the whole idea of trying to reframe it. What was it like for you when you started to think about those?
I think we don't take the time to second guess ourselves or to think about it deeper than our initial gut feeling.
It's easy when you've got the space.
Yeah,
When it happens, when you get cut off in traffic or whatever.
Yeah.
It's very different.
Life is so quick. Just jumping out all the time. It's so hard to slow down. My goodness. Most challenging thing, and sometimes even one perspective that I had was just simply eating and just tasting like a piece of fruit. We know what the fruit is going to taste like, but we're already diving into the fruit and just quickly getting it over with.
I was surprised by the fruit. Yes.
You know? And then all of a sudden it's like we're not really experiencing the flavors of life because we're so fast in living. And that can be hard to come back to it and be aware of these situations. Anyone have any strategies for more awareness in your life personally that you would like to share with the group?
No, I just want to ask questions.
Yeah, please.
Why it's just so easy for me to reframe these things for other people. All of these when I assume about other people, and I can easily switch it and maybe there's some explanation for why they do that. But then for myself, I just go numb. And when you guys read all of these cards, I'm just like, yes, all of these are my inner critics. And when I got them, I think of them in my mind and I'm being so faded. That's it, I'm being numb. I cannot think or reasoning, so I cannot be curious for myself. It's easy to be for others, but for myself, I just disconnect with myself.
Yeah, there's also the attachment of releasing as well, of getting that figured out. And so that attachment to having it figured out can create a lot of pressure, and that pressure can confuse the self as well. And in some cases where especially it's like super important and it's like a complex situation, all of a sudden, like if you have a lot of different stimuli that are attracting your attention all the time, and that focus can be completely on that with the space that you need to be given. And sometimes it's just the feeling that needs to come up and letting those thoughts come into the space to opening yourself up to that and recognizing where that comes in. And then you can also a little bit get to be understanding of what this belief or thought that came up from those situations. And that, okay, well, I want to figure this out. Like this one here, they only care about themselves. This could be hard for me to think about in this term of, okay, well, what is my reframe? But to change this into, like, if I'm too focused on trying to fix this right now, it can be really like a big pressure for me, because especially if I resonate with this and I want to fix something, it just, the pressure of fixing makes it, that's the whole thing of what makes it hard to fix in the first place. It's easier because you don't have the attachment to other certain ones. Like you don't need to dive into it. It's like that's their task, and then that's your task. And so the task of doing your thing becomes a little bit more like, oh, I want to do this. Like I want to figure this out. So the pressure can sometimes be in the way, but the pressure is good in some cases as well.
That I just like think of myself as not the main project. Like just take it easy and figure it out along the way.
it's a big form of detachment, but yeah, because the self-image it's very challenging to just let yourself go and just not have this me, my, or mine attitude, because that, I mean, it's a whole Buddhist philosophy, but it can be so deep where if you don't have any attachment to even being the self in the world of me, mine, or myself, then you release all sort of attachment to what you can do and what you should gain and what you could gain. And so it's an aspect of knowing how to let go and release and be complete surrender with the direction. Yeah, please.
When so I had a hard time with I was a maid of honor in my friend's wedding this year, and she was the original maid of honor, and she was very stressful to my friend, her sister, and she made her cry a lot, and I called her the B word and everything. Anyway, my fiance reflected to me, and she's like, she's doing that because she wants attention, right? And you're doing it in a certain way, and you're helping her because you also want attention in a different way. You're not making her cry, but you're trying to get attention from her. And so I reflected on that, and I started using her as a mirror. And aside from the looks, the gender, and everything, what are we all actually? And I see us everyone as light, and it's like all woo. Anyway, when you see yourself as a reflection of that person, and you can kind of deeply see what is wrong, or what needs to be fixed with them, and you can help them with all those internal problems. And that's why it's easier to reflect. Does that make sense? Why? Oh, I can help them out with this problem, but then you didn't see it within yourself until maybe after you've already helped them. And I see that a lot when I'm judging friends, and why are they doing that? Why do I would never do that, but maybe you would in another lifetime. You never know. And so that's just how I interpret trying to fix or help people. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think it comes down to the amount of judgments we're dealing with. When we see another person and we're trying to judge them, we're dealing with 5 judgments or 10 judgments. But when we're internalizing, we're dealing with ourselves, we're dealing with hundreds of judgments, our whole lifelong judgments. So it's so hard to navigate which ones.
Yeah, start with one, and then
Unpack one at a time.
Yeah.
But it never really is just one, is it?
No. That's fine.
It's like becoming enlightened is completely forgetting the self, right? And not having any attachment to the world. And that's so hard to become. But I mean, if that's a goal, then it's like, okay, then you're going to judge yourself on all the things that you're not doing to get to the path of enlightenment.
That's actually just came to me that's true that we have hundreds of thousands of switches inside that's just completely automatically click all the time. But personal growth is not gradual process. It's not a straight line. It's like steady. And then maybe backwards as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's kind of 100 switches click at the one time, and then oh, fuck, yeah, and then you learn something.
I'd like to say something, I think, to what your point was. If I heard you correctly, it was that you're looking at how easy it is to kind of correct the judgments of others, but then when it comes to experience our own internal world, we're noticing that we're engaging in these actions or these ways of thinking, but that we can't seem to reason with it or to change it easily. And something that really helped me is to notice that what we're doing now is this is a thought experiment that we're engaging. That it's so easy to think our way into a brighter world, but then the actual practice of changing that is a whole different thing, and it's a different set of skills that we have to learn about this animal that I call Charlie, or what a human, right? And there's also it's a much longer, more difficult process to kind of over time change these ways of seeing the world and experiencing the world, for it to be, yeah, not the way that's painful and the way that's peaceful and easy.
Maybe because the external figures, they are the one that for years they make it hard for me to judge myself, so maybe it take a long time to have different external figures, the one with less judgmental, create a more like a safe environment for me to be who I am. So how many years I stayed in the past is how many years it takes me to build like a different.
It could be like that, yeah. I think one good way to look at it is like our brain has like pathways, right? And when we're young, the pathways that get left in the brain or in the body, they have a big impression. But then what we have to do then, as we notice this, is say, oh, this has a lot of energy, this pathway. So now I'm gonna have to change the way I behave and change the way that, or at least experience this in a more, and from a different perspective. And then over a lot of time, this pathway will change its direction into a more, I guess, more positive or more desirable, healthier way of experiencing. But yeah, it takes a lot of practice.
Guys, this has been so wonderful. The class comes in here in 3 minutes.
Oh, okay.
So, you can keep them if they resonate with you. If not, then I'll take them.
You want it back?
I know I can't. That's been on report cards since I was 5 years old. Oh, I know you will. Shut up.
So,
Should they move you fucking?
well, guys, this has been wonderful. I hope you took away something big from this today. And there's a lot to reflect on and to internalize. So I can put just thought reflections in the group chat that you guys can look at, and also little action steps that I would kind of recommend. And yeah, thank you guys for coming today. Really appreciate it. Leave your investment in the hat, the helmet.
150?
150, yep.
What'll do?
What's this game on Wednesday?
Wednesday is going to be coming up soon. I gotta create a curriculum. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Wednesday gonna be same time? Wednesday gonna be same time?
Yeah. I'm going to basically be doing like a membership style for this, because I want those who are doing the Wednesday sessions to be committed, because they're 4 to 6 weeks, and to have interchangeable things and with different things going on. It's easier when people are actually committed to such. If you have an option to, I would love to hear it for a different time. Okay, I'll look at that in the schedule as well, what they have available here as well. Let's take a quick photo.
You could always go in another space too.
Yeah, that's true as well.